The atmosphere on the set of Lorraine was tense even before the cameras started rolling. Lorraine Kelly, known for her polite yet probing interviews, adjusted her cue cards as the production assistant whispered, "We're live in 3, 2, 1, the bright studio lights flickered on, and sitting across from her was none other than Prince Harry, dressed casually but with a serious expression. "Good morning, Your Royal Highness," Lorraine began with her signature smile. "Thank you for joining us today." Harry nodded politely. "Morning, Lorraine. Please, just call me Harry." The audience chuckled softly, but the warmth faded quickly as Lorraine dove into the subject everyone was waiting for, his relationship with the royal family. "You've been quite vocal recently about the pressures of royal life and your choice to step back," Lorraine said carefully. "But critics say you've distanced yourself from the institution while still benefiting from its name and platform. How do you respond to that?" Harry's jaw tightened slightly. "It's not about distance or benefit, Lorraine. It's about survival, mental, emotional, and even physical. When you're inside that system, it's not freedom. It's performance." Lorraine leaned forward. "But surely you knew what you were born into. Some people feel that you and Meghan wanted the privileges without the responsibility." The prince's eyes flashed. "Responsibility?" he echoed, voice firm. "I served 10 years in the British Army, including 2 tours in Afghanistan. I've worked tirelessly on mental health advocacy, veterans' welfare, and children's charities. My family's duty doesn't end because I chose to protect my wife and children from relentless attacks." There was a momentary silence. The host didn't back down. "Still, Harry, some argue that by doing tell-all interviews and documentaries, you've turned private family matters into public entertainment." Harry exhaled sharply, visibly frustrated. "You mean telling my truth? For years, others told my story without asking me. Newspapers twisted facts, made money off lies, and when I tried to correct them, I was told to stay silent for the image of the crown. No one seemed to care about the cost of silence." Lorraine shuffled her notes, glancing briefly toward the camera. "Do you think speaking out has helped bridge that gap, or made it worse?" He smiled faintly, but there was no humor in it. "You can't bridge a gap when one side keeps burning the bridge." The audience murmured softly. Lorraine sensed the rising tension but pressed on. "Your father, King Charles, has remained largely silent about your comments. Have you spoken to him recently?" Harry paused, his fingers tightening around his coffee mug. "That's complicated," he said finally. "I've reached out. But some things aren't as simple as a phone call." "And your brother?" Lorraine asked. The moment Prince Harry stepped out of the Lorraine studio, the atmosphere backstage buzzed with the kind of energy that follows controversy. Producers whispered urgently, assistants rushed to their phones, and within minutes, clips from the interview were already circulating online. By the time Harry reached his car, his phone was vibrating non-stop, messages from his team, a few old friends, and even some from journalists pretending to check in. He ignored most of them, staring out of the tinted window as the London rain began to fall. The interview had gone exactly as he expected, unfiltered, raw, and impossible to spin. Meanwhile, in the studio, Lorraine Kelly sat at her desk, watching the replay on the monitor. Her producer, Simon, leaned in, wide-eyed. "Lorraine, that was explosive. Twitter's going wild. They're calling it the most intense royal interview since Diana's Panorama." Lorraine took a slow sip of her tea, her mind racing. "He didn't come here to please anyone," she murmured. "He came to burn the script." Back online, hashtags like #HarryVs Lorraine and #RoyalTruthBombs began trending worldwide. Viewers were split. Some praised Harry's courage and honesty, while others accused him of disrespecting his family yet again. Memes, reaction videos, and hot takes flooded every corner of social media. Across London, inside Clarence House, King Charles's communications team was already drafting a statement. But, as always, the royal response was silence, dignified, deliberate, and deafening. One aide muttered under his breath, "Sometimes silence says everything." Harry, on the other hand, wasn't seeking approval. That night, he sat with Meghan in their cozy home office, reading through a few of the headlines. Meghan glanced at him, concern in her eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Harry gave a weary smile. "I knew it would be rough. But I meant what I said." She touched his hand. "You've always stood by your truth. That's why I fell in love with you." They sat in silence for a while, watching a late-night news segment replay the confrontation. The clip showed the exact moment Harry said, "Love doesn't mean silence, not anymore." The anchor called it a defining moment in modern royal history. But not everyone saw it that way. The tabloids twisted his words, painting him as bitter and defiant. One headline read, "Harry declares war on his family again," while another sneered, "Prince of Pain strikes back." The next morning, Lorraine arrived at ITV to a flood of mixed feedback. Her inbox was overflowing, some praising her professionalism, others accusing her of ambushing the prince. During her production meeting, she sighed. "People forget I'm just doing my job. He's the one who chose to answer." Simon chuckled nervously. "You asked the tough questions. That's why you're Lorraine Kelly." That afternoon, Harry received a call from an unexpected number, his father's private secretary. "His Majesty would like a word, sir," the voice said. Harry hesitated before replying, "Tell him I'll call him tomorrow." When he hung up, he leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. For years, conversations like this had been impossible. But perhaps, this time, things might be different. Later that day, Harry and Meghan took a quiet walk through their garden, away from cameras and controversy. The autumn air was cool, the leaves crunching under their feet. "Do you think he'll actually talk to you?" Meghan asked. Harry shrugged. "Maybe. Or maybe he'll just send another statement about unity and understanding. I'll take either, as long as it's honest." Meghan smiled faintly. "You're still the soldier trying to fix the mission." He laughed under his breath. "Some battles never end." As night fell, Lorraine was finishing up her next day's show prep. Her phone buzzed, a short message from a private number. "Greater than, thank you for giving me space to speak, H." She stared at it for a moment, surprised, then smiled softly. "He's braver than people think," she whispered. The next morning, media outlets across the world were still dissecting every word of the interview. Some called it a wake-up call for the monarchy, while others labeled it another royal meltdown. Yet, buried beneath the noise, something had changed. For the first time in years, the public saw Harry not as the rebellious prince, but as a man standing firmly in his truth. In the following weeks, Harry's interview continued to make waves. Mental health organizations praised his openness about emotional survival. Journalists debated whether Lorraine had gone too far. Even politicians weighed in, calling his comments a reminder of the human cost of public duty. But amid the storm, Harry stayed quiet. He attended charity events, met with veterans, and kept his focus where it mattered most: real people, not headlines. When a reporter eventually caught up with him outside a mental health conference and asked, "Do you regret what you said on Lorraine?" Harry paused for a long moment before replying. "Regret?" he said thoughtfully. "No. Sometimes the truth makes people uncomfortable. But that's how change starts." And with that, he walked away. No entourage, no royal guards, just a man who had once been a prince, now living by his own words. That same evening, Lorraine signed off her show with a subtle smile. "Whatever your opinion, yesterday's conversation reminded us of one thing: the truth isn't always polite, but it's always powerful." The screen faded to black, but the echoes of that heated morning remained. A clash between tradition and truth, between image and authenticity. Prince Harry had spoken his truth to the world, and whether people loved him or loathed him, one thing was certain: they were finally listening.